All right, take two, guys.
God.
We're not going to do the clap because
No
you guys failed.
We didn't fail. We evolved.
No, we failed.
You guys think you transcended, but it's kind of like a pigeon who just shits on the chessboard and struts. Like, they didn't win.
Yeah, they did. That game is over, and
I
they caused
have
the end of
never
it.
felt so relatable to a metaphor than just now with this pigeon that shat on a chessboard and strutted and stuff.
Yes. Congratulations, guys.
I feel good.
Okay, isn't it obvious?
Oh,
I'm just going right into it.
Yeah.
I'm just going right into it. Okay.
What about the welcome?
The welcome?
You know, like welcome.
What are our listeners supposed to think?
They're just walking.
Is it just like, that's the opening from now on? Isn't it obvious that? No.
You know, you guys have mentioned...
it's just like walking in on your parents. It's weird.
It's not weird.
The weirder part is you sit there and watch.
That is weird.
No, it's weird to walk in on them. Because they're making a lot of noise. They're not
Okay,
subtle.
let's not talk about this anymore.
Well, hi, Mom. My only listener to this podcast.
Hi, Phil's mom. It's embarrassing he caught you having sex, huh?
My mother has actually listened to one of our podcasts.
Oh, no.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I am, too.
But not the one that she's going to listen to, because I'm going to send her a text and be like, you should really listen to your daughter's ideas on religion. That's spiritualism.
She would be,
It's
she'd be
great,
very
fantastic,
upset.
rainbows, unicorns, the Pope, Vatican II.
Cheers. She's Lutheran,
Electric
but whatever.
Oh, you guys are... Well, Lutherans don't count.
They don't count, you're right. So she wouldn't be as offended if she were Catholic. Christian lazy. Is
No,
really
Christian light.
Christian lazy.
You guys are like...
Christian light. We don't have all of the hang-ups that all other Christian denominations have.
Lazy.
No, it's not laziness.
It is absolutely laziness. Anyway.
You guys are like progressive and like philosophical.
Really. Actually, most Lutherans are incredibly conservative.
And you guys are like, oh, but what's the point of this? Why is it important? It's like, you guys don't just follow dogma blind and...
Wait, do we have to scrap this too, now that we've gone on for 2 minutes about nothing?
Welcome to Isn't It Obvious with your host, Philip, joining me, Micah and Sera. And isn't it obvious that...
Right into it.
Oh man, I just forgot it. Like, I had the whole spiel about like how this rhymes, and it's just like staccato is just gone. All right, just give me a second here as Micah stares at me. Isn't it obvious that... Oh, geez, it got... All right, okay, one more time. Isn't it obvious...
Keep this in, editor. Keep this in. It's so good.
That you should think twice for good advice. Think twice for good advice. Or from.
Well, now you're going to have to explain that.
It came to me from one of my conversations with my brother, but we kind of devolved into something like the argument of a cigarette smoker, a person who smokes cigarettes that tells you shouldn't smoke is not a hypocrite. His advice is still valid, even though it's coming from a source where he may appear like a hypocrite. And then the question that he posed to me is, does it matter where the source of the advice came from? And so then I asked my dad about this, and I was like, does it really, because for some reason he gave me this riddle, and I responded to this riddle back. Someone who says that money doesn't buy happiness, and that you should just love thy neighbor from a religious context, but drives a Lamborghini and owns a fucking church, and has a helicopter and a mansion, and he says, hey, money doesn't buy happiness, you should be, more pious, and the meek will inherit the earth.
Is this also the same pastor who hid $650,000 in the wall of his bathroom in his megachurch that he kept closed during a hurricane because he didn't want to let poor people in?
Sorry, Mom, but yeah, you own his books. So the idea is that, like, I would say the message coming from him is kind of shite, right? Like, it's terrible. But the message itself should be divorced from the person speaking, right?
No, absolutely not.
I think
the
it
do
depends.
as I say, not as I do is a cop-out for someone who knows they're doing wrong and continues to do wrong things.
Well, no. Yes. For the toxicity of that person that's spewing this out, right, that's just a garbage human being.
Like, from the smoker saying, don't start smoking, is that bad advice?
Has that smoker tried to stop smoking?
Does it matter?
Sure. Does it matter? But
yes,
sure,
it does.
Sure
Why?
they did. Maybe they tried.
Because if the effort going into it, because there's a chemical addiction aspect to smoking cigarettes, that once that addiction takes hold, it's very difficult to stop.
Is that bad advice?
Yeah.
Regardless.
The question I asked my father was, if it came from a doctor...
Make your own mistakes.
No.
Fucking you're... No, you just no.
And this is what I asked...
Stupid fucking smile on your face.
No, To be wise is to learn from others' mistakes, so you don't need to take their word for it if you know what they're doing is bad.
Or
what they're doing is making themselves feel better because what they're doing they know is bad. But if they say, "Hey kid, don't stop smoking," oh fuck, that's good. Like,
well, yeah,
they're trying to make themselves feel better. They're not trying to pass on good knowledge because everybody knows that that's bad.
Disagrees.
You have to look at it as a case-by-case situation.
I disagree. I absolutely disagree. If you, as the objective observer who's watching your uncle or aunt or whoever basically waste away to their addiction, and they tell you, like, don't start drinking, don't start smoking, or don't follow the path I did. Like, I think that's solid advice.
But the path you're on is never going to be the path they took.
Doesn't matter. You can see what it has done to them. You can see it. You don't have to experience it yourself to.
So if you have a drink, you're an alcoholic, flat out. There's no gray area between what is healthy and responsible. You don't have to follow in their foot. Like, you can see what it does, and you can choose to not go as far as they did, or not do it at all.
Yeah, and also that it kind of goes beyond that argument too in a funny way. I was originally proposing this, like, you should think twice of advice at all, good or bad, but think twice for nice advice is kind of
give it a couple of thoughts instead of just the one.
But the one that is, well, I don't even think people think at all. It's just autopilot, to be honest. So even thinking about it once is pretty important. The doctor,
you just haven't agonized enough.
There's nothing like,
you know why? It's
guilt.
You haven't smoked meth.
It's just suffering. No, I think that if it came from a doctor and he said, "Hey, don't smoke," and if it comes from a smoker, "Hey, don't smoke," like, it doesn't quite matter.
Phil, same advice.
If it comes from a smoker,
same advice.
"Hey, don't smoke." You gotta do the voice.
You gotta
do the voice.
Yeah, give him the clamps.
I'll give him the clamps. I've been smoking since I was 30.
I'm now 32. That's what happens when you smoke a cigarette every other third Sunday.
That's a really good smoker voice.
More like 30.
So your voice sounds like you have a voice box. Like you just,
I know. I have a really
good.
I have a good chain smoker voice.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the fact that I'm using this voice box modulator is not because of cigarettes. I had throat cancer. The cigarettes were not part of that. I started smoking after.
That is just so disgusting to see someone smoke from
their neck hole.
It's so gross.
Yes, that's just the worst. Not the worst, but pretty close. Like top 10 the worst, maybe.
I think it's worse with the chewers that lose their lower jaw.
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
That's real gross because I always keep it there, and they have the cancer in there, and they have to.
Oh
yeah, it's weird.
I went to a school that had like 2 cows in a gas station, and I think I mentioned this before.
What kind of school is that?
It's just
we teach you large animal farming breeds and petroleum sales.
But only the 2.
Only the 2.
Yeah.
Which, that gets you all of the math and science you'll ever need in life.
Sorry, what were you saying?
It's, it's accurate. You only need to count the 2.
Oh my god.
And petroleum is important.
What? No, 6. Udders, man. They got tits.
Oh my god.
Teats? Look, so they had this they had this water fountain, and you go into and it has this big sign, and it said "No chew and sink," and I couldn't get it. Like, I had no idea what this meant. Like, cause I was like, why would you chew the sink? Like, why would no chew? Like,
what you watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking was happening. Was like people would chew and gnaw on the water spout, like the little.
Gross.
Yeah,
just get nervous.
Yeah, and I'm like, what type of library is this? Like, and then later on, I asked someone about it. They're like,
the one guy working on the cow comes in with his
because people are
boots and spurs
disgusting,
and cowboy hat.
and they just spit their gross chew into the
all right.
sink it's not going to clog it. And you're just like,
oh dang, nabbit! I can't chew in that shit. Hold on, I gotta go to the actual restroom. Excuse me.
I actually did figure it out from as well, because I was like, no, that can't be true. Like, people don't just chew tobacco. That's disgusting.
Just like they.
You gotta do it like Grandpappy does it. You just gut it.
Well, I maybe
same thing. Like people with cigarettes, they just throw it on the sidewalk and stamp it out and leave it.
Oh, one of the biggest pet peeves, and I don't understand it now. People still flick their cigarette over their car on the road.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Why? It's gross.
Yeah.
It is.
Get an ashtray.
No, don't even get an ashtray. Just, you're gonna buy probably like Mountain Dew or something shitty because you're a dumb fucking smokes.
Carry a bottle of like shitty cigarette water. Just dump it in there.
That's right. That's what you're supposed to do with Sierra Mist.
Whatever, man. Just invest in that. Don't fucking live.
Sorry, I had to get that off my chest because.
Same with at least sunflower seeds and like peanut shells are like biodegradable, but like it's still gross.
Those filters are not.
No, they aren't. But I'm like, just like people will just dump their shit in their like just where they were sitting. Like,
with
why?
that, what's worse, like peanut shells and sunflower seed shells, or gum? Both are biodegradable.
No,
gum is worse.
They're worse. All of them are bad. But yeah, I would say gum is probably worse.
Gum's way worse.
And they're... Oh, that was Maeve, everyone.
Hi, Maeve.
Just investigating the trash can and the beers.
So I would...
These are hazies. You don't like them. You like your sessions.
Hello, baby.
I would also go like one step further, not just like, the person who's smoking is
getting close to that cliff, man.
Is the person who's smoking and says not to smoke is like the best example I can think of. But what I was thinking was more of someone you completely disagree with, right? Maybe it's someone on the other side of the political aisle.
Don't have sex because abstinence is the only way to guarantee no teen pregnancy.
Well, this is kind of the problem, is that they spew a lot of nonsense, right?
No, but is that nonsense? If you want to 100% prevent teen pregnancy, abstinence is the only way. Because any sexual activity would probably lead to teenage pregnancy. They're not incorrect in what they're saying.
No,
but it's still bad advice.
But it's bad advice
because it's denying human nature.
Well,
that
it's denying most, like, just it's ignoring the reality that is people.
But it's good advice.
It is great advice. It's solid advice if people were capable of.
So the source that's giving advice should be brought under scrutiny.
Not having sex, but like they really aren't.
In
clearly.
every situation. You can't pick and choose this. You have to question anytime anyone ever gives you advice. If you come up to a smoker who just lit his next cigarette on his current cigarette and keeps smoking and says, "Hey kid, you should never pick up smoking. Let me tell you, that coolness only lasts for like 10, 15, maybe 20 years, depending on your bone structure.
And
Let
it's
me tell you.
really expensive.
Let me tell you, with your jawline, kid, you could go far.
It's not worth the medical bills.
Alright, guys gotta stop the smoking, but they can't keep it.
But if it's someone who's like, sorry, I'm so fidgety, just don't ever pick up smoking, I'll be right back. And you see that there's not only the deleterious effects of the smoking, but the fact that it's a strain on someone to do that. That is a far more credible non-smoking advice than the dude who's, just lit his third cigarette off of his second cigarette, but still has his first cigarette, and now he's offering the third cigarette to, Dolores over there, who just ran out of her chew and is looking a little jonesy.
Yeah, but like,
don't worry, Dolores, I got you covered.
As the kid who just received that advice, don't start smoking, like, I could see the disgusting habits that this random person has. He's just told me don't start smoking. Be like, yeah, I'm not gonna start. That
Wait,
sounds awful.
Why do you think that Jacob's disgusting?
Disgusting.
What's disgusting about him?
Everything.
Okay, first,
He's very complimentary.
Our dear listeners, you know that we're old because we're talking about like real smoking and not vaping, which is the
fucking worse.
Yeah, that's the things that
bad.
people do now. But smoking is going away essentially. Like
good, because it's too expensive.
But
afford it. Not that people can't, I think vaping's much.
Well, vaping's cheaper, but absolutely worse because like that heating coil filament breaks apart and you inhale the metal that's in that heating filament.
I mean,
that's way worse.
There's a problem with
both terrible.
See, if you had like natural cigarettes where it's a lot harsher, you have all these filters that put in so many chemicals to 1, make it taste better, 2, make it more addicting, and 3, have it burn slower.
Or just don't.
If you just had tobacco, it'd be great. It keeps mites off of you.
I'm sure
we
that's
learned that from Ben Shapiro.
We did, yeah.
Well, I mean, not from Ben Shapiro, but from minor Googling of Ben Shapiro's horrible writing.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Okay, first that.
Anyway,
aside from the right-wing intellectuals,
would you take any advice from Ben Shapiro?
That's the problem.
Do you think it's wrong that a woman's vagina becomes wet when aroused, or is that a medical issue that should be brought to a doctor?
That's between my doctor, myself, and my priest. Okay, like we don't talk about medical issues like that on this podcast.
I wasn't aware you had a
again, doctor,
right.
Myself, and the.
See, that's why you find yourself a doctor
priest.
A reverend doctor. When you have a reverend doctor, that's 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah,
you can bring anything got a reverend doctor.
Cleric with a mace. Yeah, but also can heal.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad, guys. Not bad. Well,
no, a shit cleric.
Yeah.
Just a shit cleric.
So
you got a little bit of extra blood in you. We're gonna have to drain that blood. You'll feel better. What is that? You got a fever? It's too much blood in you. It's too much boiling. We gotta get some of that blood out of you. What is that, bloody flux? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, may he receive this child.
I mean, I was about to go some like really dark and gross, like I was, but I'm gonna hold myself back. But we'll just say it had to do with blood.
Oh, okay.
What, should we talk about menstruation?
Okay, we're gonna go.
I mean, it was worse, but yeah.
A little bit more forward here.
I mean,
I went with bloody flux, bloody diarrhea.
It involved.
Like destruction of the intestines.
Oh, you think? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a monthly thing, man. Like,
yeah.
Anyway,
it's not explosive. Like after you're done with the toilet, it doesn't look like someone was murdered in there with a grenade.
Micah clearly does not have a wife or a girlfriend.
What? Yeah, no, I had a girlfriend once. She threw up once, and she told me she was pregnant, and she never threw up again, and then she didn't have a kid. So I assume it was a miscarriage.
So that's again between your doctor yourself and your priest.
That's a hot take.
Okay.
Anyway, whatever. What were we talking
Uzbek
about?
got that joke.
Damn it.
There's two things that I want to say. One, yeah. So if a right-wing intellectual, I guess, person goes ahead and says, lizard person. Sorry.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I said lizard and then person, and then I said sorry.
Excuse me. Well, he might be.
He's definitely
honestly, I would not be surprised if he's just an asexual who's never thought about the fact that other people might have a different experience outside of his own. Anyway, whatever.
So think twice for good advice is double check when someone gives you advice, or you should just take people's advice regardless.
Or think twice when someone who might be a hypocrite, when they're telling, like, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. Like, you have to maybe, like, if they're giving you advice, you need to think about it a little harder when they're giving it.
So you should always question advice regardless of the source.
Well, maybe question... I mean, yes, but
whether it's Joel Osteen, Ben Shapiro, or Jake.
Be a skeptic, really.
Just
be a
hold
skeptic.
yourself to everything.
Yeah, but it's really tough because I would again say that the person who smokes or vapes, if we're going to talk about the modern age.
What about not health concern? No deleterious health effects. What's your example for advice with that? The smoking analogy that doesn't have to do with someone's health choices or consuming a poison.
How about don't have children, or is that too healthy? Too health involved.
One of the advice that I would say from I wouldn't say right wing, but people associate everyone that they don't like that's from the left as right wing would be something like this is I'm sure you guys have heard of this. I don't know, you could call him motivational speaker, but he would say something like ownership is a really important part of having agency in your life, right? So if you have a problem, it doesn't really matter about the fact that you're the victim of this problem, which most of the time it is. It's the fact that you have to kind of bounce back and recover. And a lot of people, everyone has an issue with this when he says, well, you have to have more ownership, a locus of control, and having self-agency is really important to be able to get out of that kind of shithole. And people kind of take real great offense to this because it's kind of like, well, you're just blaming the victim that they're having a really tough time and you're just saying, get your big boy pants up.
So is that the whole, if you're poor and want things, just don't buy things, then you'll have money to not be poor anymore?
It's more like you're always going to have a shit hand, but it doesn't give you the excuse just to be a shitty person. It's kind of like how I take it.
Don't be a victim is kind of what
or don't identify yourself.
I'm confused.
But it's acknowledging societal shortcomings that prioritize the accruement and hoarding of wealth, and if you are not part of that wealthy class, that you see the error in the hoarding and mass accumulation.
So you guys don't.
I think no. So I'm kind of in the middle here because, like, I agree that there are certain circumstances where victim blaming is bullshit, and there are legitimate reasons why people might be in the dire straits that they are in, and it's no fault of their own. But I also understand too that instead of just sitting in your woe is me attitude, I'm a victim, help me, help me, help me, you can also take ownership and say, I need to get out of this, and here are the steps I need to take to get to the next level, so I am not a victim. I am taking ownership of what maybe I did in this particular thing, and so this circumstance doesn't happen again or something.
So,
all right, let's talk about critical race then.
Oh, no, get out of here. No, we're not going that.
No, that's the idea.
But I'm saying, like, there's two sides. There's two different perspectives here. And, like, it might not be true for every circumstance.
Of course not, yeah.
Because it really does. It depends. Like, there's certain things that obviously it's not just like, no, this is the hand you're dealt and it's not fair and it's not your fault. But there's also other circumstances like, well, okay, it's not your fault, but here are the things you can do. You don't have to wallow in self-pity and go, woe is me. You can get yourself out of this. Like, there are ways, and here will help you.
But there's this problem with this advice that this motivational speaker, like people portray him as either being you're blaming the victim, or you can go overboard with this, right? As far as having like extreme ownership, and you can start micromanaging everything because now you own everything, so therefore you have to make sure it's done right. But the idea that if you identify as a victim, it's a very alluring thing. I don't think you guys may have had that, but like if you kind of go down that route of saying, well, you know what, the world is complete shit.
Oh, I know a couple of people who like will legitimately just play the victim. Like, it's never their fault. They never are wrong.
I carry my victim card in my wallet. Do you guys want to see my victim card?
I'm the president of the victim card.
So,
I am the prime minister. I am the internet.
There is a
gal,
we'll just say there's a gal who she is incapable of taking ownership of like her own actions that lead to the problems she's experiencing.
Why are you holding back? Just let's talk about Cindy.
Sure, Cindy. Not her real name. But she's constantly complaining. She's constantly complaining
Cindy
about things that, sorry, this is just normal everyday life things that you just have to deal with as an adult human being and who lives in the world. And she's expecting like people to just bend over backwards for her. And every time she makes these complaints, right, she'll always put a little aside in there, like, but you did this. You, person I'm talking to, she'll make an accusation of like, you did this, and I didn't get this, or I am the victim here because of something you did. And it's always these little asides, and I'm just like, you're just fucking, like, this is the type of person that needs to fucking grow the fuck up and live in the real world.
It's really sad too, because I can understand if you're a kid.
I wish I could show you these emails, man.
No, I'm fine. I don't care. I actually talked to Cindy on the side, so
I'm sure. Yeah, all right. And her stalker boyfriend who doesn't exist, or does exist, but she keeps... Anyway, whatever.
No, I've talked to him too. He's not the stalker in that situation.
I know! The fuck? It's just lying.
I'm going to reel this back a bit.
Micah, I was making a joke. I didn't know that was on point.
Micah, you asked for an example of what I would consider advice that I would say is good advice. Think twice on good advice type of thing. In my opinion, it's a right wing. In my opinion, I think I've heard that people who say something along the lines of, well, people that are poor or commit crimes is because it's the system's fault. The system is generating children from a school to prison pipeline, right? And as a society, we find this to be acceptable, and you can clearly see that this is society's fault. That we, as a collective, man, we're just doing a bad job, and so it's not on them, it's on us. And my thought was like, okay, that's not going to win any arguments for people that are really right wing, right? That are all about individualism and are all about like, well, no, you have to put your big boy pants on and you have to do the right thing, or you have to, take ownership of your life, sort of stuff. And so that advice is kind of toxic coming from that angle. Like, I can kind of see the context of where this advice is coming from. But still, I think that if you separate it from the voice and you just take the message, it's not a bad message. It's just really icky.
That our society doesn't provide a groundwork that instills the ability to make the best out of every individual, and that we have certain sects of our society that are held down due to older, primarily racist, but now changing more into classist, rejectionist and limitation.
There's a lot of bleeding there, yeah.
But the issue I have as well is that, and again, I don't want to sound like an asshole, But
that's my job.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna sound like an asshole, then I'm gonna take your job.
God damn it!
I know. I'm just taking your job.
Taking your job.
Actually, that's fine. I've been
Blame
really itching to go back on unemployment. So.
Taking our jobs.
Why did you lose your job? I'm no longer the asshole.
Oh god.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sir, this is a Taco Bell. Fuck, I'm still the asshole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I get a taco?
Can I get some Fiesta potatoes with extra cheese?
It's been 2 nights since I've been to a Taco Bell. I don't even know what's on their menu anymore.
Okay,
Anyway,
so that's
whatever.
just one advice, right? Of many, of billions probably, of advice from every angle.
The statement you had about there's societal, like, you know, school to prison pipeline type thing is a stupidly broad statement that totally ignores all the nuances and the difficulties that having a nation of 300 million people state. And you look at that is the like compassionate side that still chucking broad strokes of we have these massive societal issues. Yeah, kinda. How do we change it? That's the response. If someone had that argument of there's this pipeline, it's like, all right, how do we change it?
Smarter people than me have to figure it out.
I'm just here to talk about the problem, so it's discussed more.
Yes.
Which again, I really.
But then that sense of individualism is also
I
bullshit. Because why do we have a fucking country then?
I think there's a purpose to the people who want to point out the problem. I do think they're. But like, I just get really annoyed with people who only complain and they offer nothing else. No solutions, no ideas, no like, hey, have we tried this? It's just. This is a problem.
America,
someone else fix it for me.
Yeah.
America, this one happened. How? It just wouldn't.
Yeah, and it's just and it's really frustrating.
At least I come up with interesting ideas. Like every year, a billionaire is murdered.
Okay,
and we give away all of his money.
Well, that's a terrible fucking idea.
Like
I think we can
it's
agree.
a bad idea, yes, but it's an idea that can be executed. Pun intended.
I will say at least you offer something. All right, it's more useful to just say no. That's a terrible idea. Let's move on to something.
It is a terrible idea,
but it's better because it's better to like get the ideas rolling than just say this is a problem. Someone else fix it for me.
Well, I mean, obviously, Monica is justing here.
I mean, he's not.
Oh, I'm not. I really believe in that.
I think he's.
If you implement that within 3 years, we won't have a billionaire in the country. We'll have a shitload more millionaires.
Absolutely wrong, but he's not joking.
He's joking for the listeners of this podcast.
Yeah, sure.
We're not supported by the Koch brothers or Soros.
We're gonna slash S that on.
Yeah, but just to say,
sorry if my cackle isn't enough on there.
I feel like it's important to not only receive advice this way, and then also when giving advice, it's really fucking hard.
Stay a skeptic, but also take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I tell
not a grain of salt. A grain of salt can actually make something seem better. A boulder of salt.
A boulder
of
salt. You
want it to blow out your mouth where after you've taken that idea, you're just like,
I think you're okay. I do like your little
rhyme.
You think twice about advice. I do like that. I think that's a good idea. I think more people should think twice, even if it's coming from a good, trustworthy source.
Yes.
Especially then, because you put all of this trust into a source that you like, and maybe they have an agenda you hadn't thought about, and you look into it a little bit more, and you're like, oh, well, that's bullshit.
Thanks, Catholicism.
Thank you. Yeah, well,
well, to bring
religion,
it
back,
right?
Yeah.
To bring it back specifically.
But think twice about it instead of just the one time and be like, oh, okay, all right.
So it's slightly
one time
tangential. Have you seen Ted Cruz on the latest Tucker Carlson?
Man, that guy keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
Which one?
Ted Cruz.
Well,
see, which one?
By girth or popularity?
Girth for Ted Cruz.
Well, yeah, he has a neck beard now because he has no chin. It's all neck. Anyway.
He lost it when he tried to escape the Texas winter storm last year with
Cancun, and then turned around and said he just had to drop his daughters off,
I'm
even
sure
though he
he
had
did.
a week's worth of shit with him.
I'm sure he did.
Okay, what was
anyway,
your...
Sorry.
So he sent out a text last year, as our listeners won't know. We are recording on January 7th.
2022.
A year and a day after a violent insurrection occurred at the Capitol that tried to install Donald Trump as our Lord and Dictator.
Yeah, something like that.
But Ted Cruz, I believe it's the tweet after that, last year on the 7th, said, "We cannot forget this terrorist attack that happens, and they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law."
Okay.
Which, fair enough.
I would say is a statement.
It's a statement I'd agree with even.
So, he either said that again yesterday or that one resurfaced from last year. So we went on Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said, that was a lie. That wasn't a terrorist attack. Why would you say it's a terrorist attack? That was wrong. We all know what it was. It wasn't a terrorist attack.
Well, Tucker Carlson.
What was he saying it was?
It was a very good day where a bunch of patriots just wanted to disclose.
I'm sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's what he said, but Ted Cruz, with his tail between his legs, had to go, it was a poor choice of words. I really thought, yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, that's where his chin went.
Yeah.
Well, he's a man with two assholes.
Double asshole.
But you always question where any information comes from. I listen to Rachel Maddow, and Rachel Maddow is better than Tucker Carlson. She's a real scholar.
She is absolutely better than Tucker Carlson.
But in terms of what she presents,
yeah,
she has the same type of getting you into the story, getting a lot of erroneous information that will come up at the end, and it'll be, how it's structured is very nice.
She's a good performer.
It's still not great because then she'll gush over the new electric Ford car, even though Ford could have been making electric cars from like the fucking 70s, but yet they didn't because they've been working with the oil companies, but she leaves that out. So always question wherever you get your information from. Always.
Or just,
even if it's from the smoker who says don't smoke, but, oh fuck, that's better than sex.
Which, as from a lizard person,
probably
both
true.
sound terrible, so skip it. Right?
Well, blowing is involved with both of them, so.
It's true.
Especially fingers and tongues.
Okay, well, that's just...
I feel like this is an inside joke that no one would understand.
No, you're not supposed to, but Uzbek will get it.
Okay, well, thanks, Mom, for listening. I always loved your very lovely advice, so thank you.
And you know what? The think twice about the advice was a good little rhyme. I think it's a solid thing there, Phil.
I don't think twice for good advice is good as a phrase, which is what you preface this as.
No, think twice for advice.
Nice advice. Think twice for nice advice.
Nice advice?
Right, but now you're questioning nice advice.
Well,
what do you mean?
Think twice for any advice.
All right, well, I'm gonna tweak it. We're gonna tweak it to think twice for any advice.
I think thrice for any advice.
Ooh.
I mean, if you really want to, I think if you really want. But
also, thrice an advice is better than twice an advice.
Yeah, but thrice sounds pretentious. So at least twice, maybe thrice.
All right,
think twice, maybe thrice for the advice.
But I like any.
With the rice.
It's like twice any advice.
Rice?
It's a really nice flow, right?
Think twice for your advice, maybe thrice.
What are you talking about? Let's pentameter this shit.
If you...
All right, just bust out the Ouija board.
Don't want to. All right.
Think twice for good advice. No, think
twice for advice.
Think twice for nice advice.
No, but you can't say nice because then you're only thinking of nice advice. There's bad advice too.
Think twice for advice or thrice.
No,
make it nice? I don't know.
That's 7.
Or if
pentameter 5.
You know what? Whatever. We're done with this.
Soft,
attempt.
soft.
We're done with this attempt at terrible like poetry or whatever the fuck pentameter.
Poetry?
Pentameter.
Shakespearean.
Ugh.
Shakespeare does not have a monopoly on pentameter. Anyway, thank you,
Name
Mother.
Another author
Bye,
who writes
Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Oh, wait, Rothfuss. He does. If you go look at Wiseman's Fear, he does write in pentameter.
At times, not the whole fucking book.
Yeah, obviously.
Bye, Mom.
Okay, bye, Mom. Thanks.